Good afternoon. This is the Land Development Code Text Amendment Public Outreach Meeting. These three items that we'll be presenting today are going to go to the Planning Commission on October 13th for consistency finding. The first public hearing in front of the Board of County Commissioners will be on October 16th, 6 p.m. And the second public hearing, which will be also the adoption hearing, will be on November 13th, 6 p.m. The first item, Land Development Code 25-1224. This is administrative plat approvals. This amendment will modify the process to receive, review, process, and approve plats in accordance with the state statute section 177-071. The statute was recently amended to provide that plats or replats must be administratively approved, meaning that no further action or approval of a county's governing body is required if the plat or replat complies with the requirements of that section 177.0191. This amendment will designate an administrative county official with authority to approve plats. In this case, it's going to be the director of the Development Services Department. That concludes this first item presentation, and it's open to questions. Okay, we'll move on to the second item if we don't have any questions. Second item is LDC 25-1225, Leave Local Act Administrative Approval and Land Use Restriction Agreement Process Update. This amendment will modify the Leave Local Act requirements and standards for projects to qualify under the Leave Local Act in our county, specifically updating the zoning requirements. This is due to a recent change to section 125.01055 of the Florida statutes, which is called the Leave Local Act statute. This amendment will update the zoning requirements. The land to be developed under this act, the Leave Local Act, is limited today for parcels that are zoned Business Professional Office or BPO, Office Residential OR, Commercial Neighborhood CN, Commercial General CG, Commercial Intensive CI, or M for manufacturing. The amendment will specify that any other zoning district that is deemed eligible by the Leave Local Act statute will also qualify for the Leave Local Act projects. In this case, would be plan development units, or what we call in our county plan development zoning districts. This law in the state became effective last July 1st of this year. And that concludes this presentation. Open for questions.
This is Nancy. I do have a question. People use the word commercial and throw it around. And plan development, as you know, the process is very specific. And there's a lot of plan developments that were completed decades back. And they have in their plan development very specific commercial neighborhood approvals. And we've seen at some of the local hearings lately where developers are coming in and saying they have a plan development, they have commercial neighborhood approved, and you better be okay with our project because we're going to go for a Live Local Act. But when I go in and I actually read the subsection 7 and section 125.01055, the Florida statute for the Live Local Act, it doesn't seem to include the commercial neighborhood. And it specifically says if there's no retail involved, you wouldn't be included. So I'm just wondering why the language in this amendment is so vague about plan development and defining commercial neighborhood within plan development, because that's a little bit more unique than just commercial neighborhood. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I think I do. Now, the statute also has the definitions for what would what is considered commercial, what is considered industrial, and what is considered mixed use. And it doesn't make a distinction of if it is neighborhood or, we have commercial general or so on. So based on that definition, if it is if a PD has a parcel that is zoned for commercial, neighborhood, commercial general, or commercial intensive, it would meet that definition of the Florida statute. Now, regardless, when we have this request from different applicants, we will review the plan developments, and because plan developments, like you say, have a variety of uses, and they are not all approved for commercial. They're also approved sometimes for multifamily, sometimes residential. So it's a case by case review.
So
but
the review process, you're telling me, if it's plan development, there will be a more rigorous review process. Is that what you're saying?
Well, staff will always have to evaluate what is permitted and what is not permitted in a plan development. So that's why the language that staff proposes is any zoning district that is deemed eligible. So we don't want to say it's PD to just open any parcels on PD, because that wouldn't be the case. So it will be certain parcels would meet the definition of the statute for commercial, industrial, and mixed use. So it's not a blanket approval for any parcel that is just zone PD. Yeah, it's going to be evaluated and analyzed and make sure that it is eligible, in addition to whether entitlements are available as well for that particular parcel.
Well, I know we have a number up here in the northwest portion of the county where we have plan developments that were approved in the 80s, in the 90s, and they'll put in there something somewhat vague. Then we got more plan developments where it would be very low intensity, not even allowing for any type of retail. It would be like you could have a house and you could be a doctor that saw patients, a plan development like that. So if I'm understanding you correctly, if you have a zone that's plan development, there will be some rigor of evaluating if there is that, quote, commercial neighborhood. It's not zoned commercial neighborhood, it's zoned plan development, but with commercial neighborhood land use, it will have to go through a rigorous, it's not a slam dunk, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I would say if the review will ensure that plan development is approved for those commercial, industrial, or mixed uses as defined in the statute. If it meets that criteria, then it will be eligible. But just because it is zone PD doesn't make it automatically eligible.
Or if it has PD with allowable commercial neighborhood, it's not a slam dunk either, because when you read the definition in the actual statute, it specifically carves out anything that's not retail. It actually says it in the language. So I'm hoping the county will look at this carefully, because we have had literally people get up at meetings and kind of, from a development standpoint, make it a kind of a slam dunk, that they're going to get an LLA if we don't agree with what they're proposing with the property currently. So I make sure there's going to be that second look, because you do know that when this first came out, we had people getting approved for Live Local Act because they were just planned developments. You know that, right? So that's why we're a little concerned out here in the community, because this whole process of LLA, there's no community involvement. It just happens. So
that's true.
Question.
It has come from that change in the state statute. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Well, that's a good point.
On the previous amendment?
Yes.
How is the community supposed to know if we're not going to have the commissioners involved in the review of the plats? How will the community even know that a property that was zoned plan development, let's say 1995, is actually going to a plat and is going to go through development, and they may not be adhering to some of the aspects of the original plan development conditions? How would the community even know this if there is not that extra layer of review for the plats?
Well, the review of the plat will be the same. All plats today are reviewed through the review section. So it goes through the subdivision review process. If the PD is on 95 in 2002 or 2024, they all go through the same review. The staff will look at the approvals in the plan development, if it is on plan development. And then we'll review for consistency of that plan development, and then it will provide the proper approvals. The process then goes that the plat is sent to the chair of the county commissioner for signature and final approval. That is the process that's changing. Instead of being sent to the chair to have his signature, is going to be approved by the assigned authority, which is, it's going to be an administrator, because it won't have to be placed on an agenda on one of those meetings. But at that point, all the reviews are going to be exactly the same. And when it goes to the board, it's not like a public hearing, like open or public hearing. It's just that is the process of the approval by the board. But nothing changes. It's just that the state now requires those plat approvals to be administratively signed or find the final approval. So, but again, the process, the strict adherence to the state statute and to the land development code is still the same.
So why did they change the process?
I don't have the answer exactly to that. I think it's just to avoid giving them more time to those plat approvals, but I can definitely get that answer and see if what's the reasoning before why the state decided to have all those plat approvals being administratively approved. But I think it has to do with the timing of those approvals.
So from the standpoint of living out in the community, you have plan development and nothing has happened for decades. How would a resident know that something is going on behind the scenes before they break ground and it's too late? How would you even know that?
Well, that's a very good question. The only thing I can tell you is that you can always reach out to our department and request for a specific folio number if there are any open site and sub permits open. I believe we do have a website for active land development projects, such as subdivisions and sites development, that applicant can go and see what's active in their area. But that is after something is submitted, of course, once it is submitted already. But at least it's going to be on review process, and the applicant and the citizens or residents can see what's being done or what was being permitted or is in the permitting process at that point.
So if I wanted to know there's a plan development and nothing's been happening, where would I go just to find out if they've submitted a plat?
You can email zoning help, or you can go to the zoning info in the website and request any active permit that's related to that specific site. And then you should be able to get, if there is a current permit for a land alteration or for upcoming development, a site or a subdivision, you should be able to receive that from staff.
Because it's not very easy in optics. If you go in and you try to look it up in optics, they're not by names or specific numbers that you can find them. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's easy. You can do a folio search, but I would recommend to request through the zoning information or zoning help. Mm-hmm. If there is any active case for a development, like a subdivision or site for a specific folio number or site address. If it is a vacant parcel, it will probably not have an address. But if you can have the folio number, that would be helpful for staff to find any active permit for that particular folio number.
And it's just zoninghelp.org or .gov?
I can tell you the website is, give me 1 second. Okay, bear with me here. Let me make sure that I have the right information. So if you go to our website and you click on businesses, and then you click on zoning,
Okay.
there should be one of those links that will have a zoning information. There is a zoning participation link, looking up a zoning case. If you click on that one, I believe the zoning help is in that particular link.
Okay.
Yes, it's actually, yeah, I believe it's in that page. I think I have your email as well, so I should be able to, after the meeting, maybe send you those links.
Okay, that would be good. That would be good. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so moving on to the last item tonight, we have LDC 1435, pickleball courts locational standards. This amendment will add regulations to new pickleball courts in the county in order to mitigate noise impacts to nearby residential uses. New construction of pickleball courts, or also conversion of an existing use into one of these pickleball courts, will be required to maintain a distance separation of no less than 250 feet from the structure or building envelope of a residential use. The review of these pickleball court facilities will now require approval of a conditional use zoning permit, which is an administrative review. This amendment was directed by the Board of County Commissioners. Now, in addition to the setbacks requirements, staff is also evaluating options to probably allow for alternative sound mitigations to be offered or proposed in lieu of the setbacks being proposed. But this is a ongoing amendment, and this is just the first draft of this particular LDC item. And that concludes the presentation of this code amendment. So again, the first public hearing will be on October 16th at 6 p.m. And we encourage you to participate on that day for all the questions and comments in front of the county commissioners. All these amendments are ongoing. These are the first drafts, and they are also subject to edits and a few changes before the final adoption. So it all depends on the input that we receive and during the public hearings. So we're encouraging you to also participate in those public hearings.
So are only the three that you've gone over today going to be on the October 16th, or there's more? Just these three?
There will, from our department, just these three. I believe there will be another item, but that one is related to a comp plan amendment, and that has to do with the wellhead resource protection areas that have been, the maps are being updated by the Planning Commission. So it's just, it has a related LDC amendment that's done by our, I think, Water Resources Environmental Division, I believe. They are the ones who are handling that code amendment. But again, it's related to the comp plan amendment, and it will be presented on that day as well.
Okay.
As a separated from these three items, but it will be also a code amendment.
Okay. And I can sign in virtually again, right?
Yes, you can participate virtually. You can be in person. You should see a sign up to speak link on that day for that particular meeting for the Land Development Code text amendments.
Okay. Very good.
All right, and we do have our website also for the Land Development Code text amendments, and we are going to be uploading the changes and edits to these items in the next few weeks as needed, and every time there is a tweak or edited version, we uploaded it here. The complete file is also in Optics for each of the items. All right, and if with no further questions, this concludes this presentation, and we will see you again on the first public hearing on October 16th.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, good night.